the Niger Delta. Seeing dusty particles during harmattan and the attendant health and environmental hazards that accompany the weather is a common phenomenon in Nigeria. However, when residents wake up and notice black soot on anything they touch, stains on clothes hanged outside, fabrics used to wipe the face or nose turning black with soot, then there is a major source of worry. This is a rising concern among residents of the Niger Delta region of recent, as the environment is covered with a noticeable blanket of black soot across the skyline. Experts are linking the black soot to the upsurge in KPO fire, an illegal crude oil bunkering business in the Niger Delta. KPO fire is a local oil processing system of heating crude in a fabricated oven to extract petroleum products, while the residue is released into the environment. Other possible cause is the setting ablaze of sites covered with crude oil by contractors and burning of seized stolen crude by security operatives. The result has been air, water, and soil pollution, which in turn can lead to contamination of plants, fishes, and animals, and humans, with attendant health consequences looming. Now, what is this black soot? What are the real causes and possible implications to health? What can be done to control this challenge? These issues will be the focus on the program Nigeria Today. I am Lydia Odije Ochi. Welcome to the program. With me in the studio to discuss this public health concern of black soot in the Niger Delta is a professor of environmental engineering and science. He is also the director, Global Institute of Energy and Environmental Systems of the Carolina, Charlotte, USA. Professor Hilary Inyang, nice to have you here with us, Prof.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And thank you, audience.
Also joining us via Zoom from Portharcourt is a professor of climate science from the Department of Geography and Environmental Management, University of Portharcourt, Professor Vincent Welly. Good to have you join us on the program, Prof.
Yeah, thank you very much. I greet you especially. I also greet the viewers.
Okay, now let me start with you, Professor Vincent Welly. Portharcourt is one of the states reported to be badly affected by the black soot. Give us an update on what is happening over there.
Yeah, thank you very much. In fact, what is happening in Portharcourt is what I can term as a disaster in waiting. As I speak with you, the illegal refining activities in Portharcourt with other industries emit substances that will constitute as soot into the atmosphere. Now, basically, the activities of illegal refining that is predominant in Portharcourt and its environs has increased the soot concentration in the atmosphere. Of course, as it is called illegal refining, it means that best practices are not adopted. And when this illegal refining takes place, they are only interested in PMS, they're also interested in kerosene, and they're also interested in diesel. And crude oil has about 250 derivatives. Now, the implication is that if they get only these three, being kerosene, petroleum, and diesel, it means that about 247 derivatives are now pumped into the atmosphere as incomplete combustion. And this is what constitutes the soot that we experience in the atmosphere of Portharcourt. As I speak with you, if you come to Portharcourt City, you will see haze of these suspended particulates. And as I speak with you, this problem has been compounded with the inflow of the harmattan wind. Of course, you agree with me that the Harmattan wind blows in suspended particulate matter. The wind is dry and dusty. And this dusty atmospheric condition has mixed with the soot that's already in the atmosphere. So we have double jeopardy already in this Portharcourt. People are smoking soot as I speak with you. In fact, in the morning, just take a white hanky and put into your nostrils. You'll see black substances. In our homes, the floors, are already turning black. The curtains, the windows, the nets, everything is turning black. In fact, as you park your car outside, coming in the morning, you will see black substances covering your car and all of that. You dry your clothes, come back 5 minutes later, it has turned black. That is the case with Portharcourt. And as I speak with you, this activity is not only causing air pollution, but it's one single anthropogenic activity that has compromised air quality, that has compromised water quality, that has also compromised, the land pollution, especially along the creeks and the rivers that crisscross the entire Portharcourt and River State in general.
Professor, you really painted a very serious picture to us, and it's worrisome. Now, let me come to Professor Hilary Yang. It is reported that the problem is more pronounced in the morning hours when the thick blanket of black soot covers the landscape. How dangerous is this to public health and the environment?
It's extremely dangerous. I'm very happy that the professor has given the scenario. But you see, an average person breathes at about 1.5 cubic meters a minute. So imagine a circumstance in which that soot, which in layman's terms is called soot, but in reality is that it is a potpourri of several substances, most of which are cancer causing. So you breathe in, you will only exhale a limited quantity of what you breathe in. So the rest is retained and find its way or their way into your bloodstream. And over a period of 10 years or so, some of them are known to be implicated in cancer, although most people will not be able to attribute their ailments to the earlier exposures. So it is very serious when it gets to that level of concentration that is reported. So one might expect to have what I would call immediate acute response, but even more worrisome is what would be chronic. That is, diseases that come later and cannot be directly attributed by those who don't know about this to these earlier exposures.
Thank you, Prof. Now, let me stay with you. It's evident that hydrocarbon and black soot air pollution-related illnesses could assume an epidemic proportion. I stand to be corrected. Is there a possibility of this black soot spreading to other parts of the country?
Well, much of that depends on the atmospheric circulation, wind circulation pattern. In this time of the year, you are not likely to get that going out to any region in the middle belt of Nigeria and beyond. It will be circulated around there. We could see a situation in which some of it can be transferred to Equatorial Guinea and neighboring Cameroon, but it will be mostly circulating around the Niger Delta because of the wind circulation pattern in this time of the year. Mm-hmm. But even at that, the risk is very high. There are three ways in which you can get this substance to get into you. There are three pathways, we call it exposure pathways. Either you take it as part of food, much of that will sediment on vegetables that people go and take and don't wash, even if you wash them. Hydrocarbons are not directly soluble in water, so the vegetables would still be stained with it. So that's one way. That is the oral way. You take it in with food. Then there is the skin exposure way. That is the second part. And the third part that is actually very direct is the inhalation pathway. So it is very dangerous.
Professor Vincent Welly, There are reports that the setting ablaze of sites covered with crude oil by contractors, as well as the burning of seized stolen crude by security operatives, are a part of this challenge. How much of this can be attributed to this development in the Niger Delta?
Yeah, we have spoken in different fora, advising the military to stop, burning these illegal refining spots. We have asked them to recoup the substances instead of setting them ablaze, because setting them ablaze is not doing anyone any good. You also agree with me that River State Governor has said that the security agencies has compromised in the fight against illegal refining and that he's helpless. Now, if the River State Governor has said he's helpless, it means that the citizens are doomed. And what we're trying to say is that this suit must stop, because as I speak with you, the metabolic process of breathing must be done by every living organism. We must breathe. And breathing is a sign of a particular organism being alive. And if we must breathe, we do not choose what we breathe, both the old and the young, the rich and the poor. But most important here is that the elderly is most vulnerable. And the children that are born at this time were having these incidents of Soot, because their systems are weak. And so they're highly vulnerable. And they're breathing all of this. Now, if what we can see in our nostrils are black, then tell me what it is in our lungs. Our lungs are already compromised, already beginning to be damaged. Like the other discussant said, these are carcinogens. They are cancer-causing substances. And as I speak with you, the youths have taken this as a venture, making money for themselves, because they are saying that there's unemployment, and because of that, they are using this as a way of making money for themselves. And as I speak to you, many of the youths have gone back to the hinterlands and are making so much money out of it. And as I speak to you, in the city of Portharcourt and its environs, crime rate has actually reduced. It means that if job is available for these teeming youths, it is obvious that all of what we are facing wouldn't have faced them. And I have said in different fora that a state of emergency on air pollution must be declared by the state government or federal government in the city of Portharcourt. And again, creation of jobs must stop the agenda of every government in the Niger Delta. And I believe that in the next 2023, any government will come in. And I want to advise that state of emergency will be declared on job creation. Of course, we know that in other climes of the world, they make boast to say how much job that they have created in their area and how many people have been employed. In our case here, people are not employed. We are busy churning out graduates from our universities and all over the place, but with no attempt, no conscious effort made, to ensure that these people are absorbed into key sectors of the economy.
If I may interject here, Professor Welly, there are reports that the Rivers State government, in its efforts to trace the cause of the matter, discovered a foreign construction company located in Portharcourt, from where the blacks were disseminating from. Is the country in general doing enough to regulate production hazards like this?
Yeah, of course, you know that everything that has to do with oil is in the exclusive list. And it is responsibility of federal government to intervene. There's no domestic law, that empowers the state government to fight this. And so that's why we're asking the federal government to come to our aid to see how all of this can be stopped.
Okay, let me go over to Professor Hilary Inyang. Sorry about that connection problem. Nigeria is one of the countries that have signed in to curb climate change. Is this challenge a drawback to its efforts? And what will be your suggestion on how to control this kind of disaster?
For more than 25 years in Nigeria, there's been the outcry for steps to be taken, and there are generally about 6 steps to be taken to curb all these kinds of environmental hazards in a country like Nigeria with a huge population. So these are going to continue to be the case unless you have appropriate regulations. These are the 6, by the way. Any country that wants to do something with the environment and curb these hazards to human health and the environment must optimize these 6 factors. First, you got to have the regulations, and out of the regulations come the policies that guide a lot of things like environmental impact assessments. Third, you've got to have technical guidance systems. In the US, we have about 3,000 technical guidance manuals on how to do things like this. Number 4, you have to have environmental monitoring systems. See, if you had a national monitoring system in Nigeria, some of these hazards would have been identified and steps taken to do them. And some monitoring will be by personnel and some by equipment. Fourth, you have to have incentives. They could be market incentives to discourage this. The gentleman, the professor who was just talking about the provision of jobs and so forth, those are incentives against bad behavior and going out to burn this petroleum ultra-virus. And then finally, you have to have environmental monitoring and environmental analysis systems. Every country that has to protect its population must have this. Nigeria does not have the biennial environmental assessment that is needed by every country of this size or even smaller sizes. So you could have some appreciation of the hazards to its population and then compare those hazards with population concentrations and take appropriate steps that can ramify through the economy, be it in the health sector, in the energy sector, the water resources sector, and so forth. That has to be done, and that's the responsibility of the Federal Ministry of Environment and all the constituent agencies.
Now, still staying with you, Professor Hilary Yang, some people are asking for the establishment of modular refineries in the Niger Delta and to productively engage the crude oil refining skills of artisans in clean and environment-friendly modular refining methods. Is this an option to deal with the situation?
Yes, the decision on modular refinery has not only environmental parameters as the basis, also has socio-economic parameters. Nigeria is a big country, a gulper of petroleum products, so modular refineries are needed. The issue is that what are the steps taken to protect the public against those who may not comply with the rules with regard to environmental management practices, ISO standards at those places. So you have to have agencies that are responsible for this, agencies that can go out and monitor the environment. Refineries are particularly prone to emitting air pollutants. That is the problem with a lot of refineries. They emit a lot of air pollutants. And in places like the Niger Delta, where you already have the results of combustion of gas flaring. We have not talked about gas flaring today. Nigeria has been talking about solving that problem for the past 30 years and not much has been done about it. As far as you know, that these refineries that are also illegal refineries that are releasing air pollutants, that is the surplus on top of what is already there, released by gas flaring. And Nigeria is the second in that regard with respect to gas flaring and releasing contaminants that go up and come back down as acid rain to destroy vegetation near villages, water bodies, and blacken roofs. If you go from Benin to Portharcourt, you see that a lot of roofs are dark. That is the result of acid rain. The pH of rain in the Niger Delta that we've measured some time ago is acidic. So you add this to that as additional emission. So that has to be done. It is the work I insist, of the Federal Ministry of Environment, the zonal offices of that entity, and the research establishment that it needs to have, that can have field monitoring components like all other countries have. And they ought to have a biennial state of the environment report that exposes all of this to the general public, so that intellect of Nigerians can be extracted to solve the problem in the universities and so forth.
Thank you. Now, let me go back to Professor Vincent Welly. Now, let's look at legislation. What can the National Assembly do now to control future occurrence, and what legal steps should be taken? Lives are involved here. Did you get me?
I heard when you were talking about the National Assembly, what should be done immediately.
Okay, yes. What can the National Assembly do now to control future occurrence, and what legal steps should be taken, since lives are involved here, human lives?
Of course, I would attest to the fact that that laws are not there already to curtail what is already happening. There are laws already, against illegal refining and all of that. But what the problem we have is the implementation of that law. The law enforcement agencies are already compromised. And that is why we are having what we are having right now. But for me, I would advise that in the House of Assembly, Federal House of Assembly, Senate or House of Reps, I want those of them, from the Niger Delta region to raise this issue of Soot as a matter of urgent public interest. That a state of emergency should be declared in Portharcourt and its environment.
It's okay.
And so the federal government can now weigh in to see how this can be stopped. Because if those who are into it are declared wanted and they are looked for, I think these activities will be stopped immediately.
Now, Professor Hilary, in a minute or less, what's your advice to the public on how best to handle the situation now?
As is the case in a lot of cities around the world, when you have these kinds of releases and exposure of air pollutants, it becomes very necessary to use the nose mask. You have to do that. If not for the COVID-19, if you observe on television, you see that cities around the world where you have a lot of air pollutants, sometimes you have that in Beijing, China, you have that in many cities around the world. You see that they are wearing their mask. So that's what to do immediately.
Thank you very much. Thank you. You had the professor wear your face mask. If you weren't wearing one before, please wear one now. It's really, really important for your health. That's it tonight on Nigeria Today, this edition with Professor Hilary Inyang, Professor of Environmental Engineering and Science. Thanks for shedding more light on the black soot covering the Niger Delta. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
And Professor Vincent Welly, a professor of climate science, who joined us from Portharcourt. We appreciate your insight. Thank you so much. And we also thank you, our viewer, for always being there. Don't forget, you can also watch this and other editions of the program on www.youtube.com/NTNews24hub. Thank you for watching. I'm Lydia Udije Ochi. Goodbye.